So this is going to be video 3 of this series of mixed martial artists versus Navy SEALs. And I'm doing this because I see still a lot of folks that honestly think that someone, simply because he's a professional soldier, he will beat a professional mixed martial artist. The guy that specializes on actually fighting bare hands versus the guy that has some knowledge on hand-to-hand fighting and knife fighting, but mostly does other things. The soldier does other things, and the elite soldier, the special forces guy who does, jumping out of planes, rappelling, diving, putting bombs, training other people, doing close quarter combat, going into buildings, breaching, all of these things, intelligence, all of these things that. And yes, when it comes to fighting, they will fight with guns. It's the most effective way of doing that, and they focus on what's most effective, as they should. I explained all of this, and all I got was a bunch of angry people telling that I have no idea what I'm talking about, and that's nice. Now, because fortunately, here comes our good old pal, Jocko Willink, who's actually a Navy SEAL himself, and also happens to be a decent martial artist. He does Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think he's a black belt, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't think he does MMA, like mixed martial arts. I don't think he's doing a lot of striking, and I wouldn't either. I mean, the man has no need to do that, but he says exactly what I said. But since he is Jocko Willink and he actually is a Navy SEAL, I hope that you will believe him when you could not believe me, because he's saying the same thing. Listen to what he has to say about an MMA fighter versus a Navy SEAL, okay?
The best SEALs, but some of those guys are super smart. And so the reason that they're good SEALs is because they're just tactically sound, or they're really good leaders. They're never going to beat people on the range shooting because they're just not that coordinated. They don't have the hand-eye coordination. Mm-hmm. But they're good SEALs anyways. But when you put them in a purely physical competition like MMA, I shouldn't say a more physical competition like MMA, they're not going to do well. And of course, obviously, there's a skill set, right? MMA fighters train MMA all the time. That's what they do. They train jiu-jitsu and boxing and wrestling and Muay Thai and judo. That's what they do. Mm-hmm. And SEALs also train all the time, but guess what? When you're in a SEAL team, you're not just training, just fighting, right? You're training shooting, and you're training tactics, and you're training patrolling and land navigation and parachuting and combat diving and fast roping and rappelling and waterborne operations, all this stuff. And then on top of all that stuff, which is the stuff that you actually really need to train, then they put on a level of mixed martial arts training to make sure that if you are, for whatever reason, without a weapon, or if you need to handle somebody that doesn't have a weapon, and so therefore you might not be in the right to just shoot him and kill him, you got to be able to handle yourself. So there's some level of MMA training, some fundamental jiu-jitsu skills, some fundamental striking skills, some fundamental wrestling skills that SEALs get, but it's not at the level of what a real MMA fighter is going to have. So,
okay, I don't know what else to. This is going to be the last one. This is my last attempt to educate people that still believe that simply because someone is a Navy SEAL, he's going to be beating a professional MMA fighter, let alone Sean fucking Strickland of all people, who happens to be pretty insane. And this is getting a bit. I mean, Sean Strickland is not okay. He's a very good fighter, but he's not very stable. There's a great video actually that I want to share with you of Mighty Mouse, of Demetrius Johnson, where he explains that someone came at him and his wife, and he said something about his wife, and the guy was like, oh, yeah, I'm not doing anything. I'm not beating the crap out of this guy simply because he said something. He said words about my wife, right? But Sean Strickland is not that guy, right? This is the video. Let me show you this one right here.
Right? If somebody says, "Oh, you a black mother bitch," just I'm like, if I go out and fight him, what am I proving?
Yeah, right.
Because guess what? There's other 20 mother out there who can't wait to call me that.
Right.
They're just words, right? Like me and my wife were walking around, some guy's walking by, he goes, "Nice." And wife goes,
can you imagine going to one of the best pound for pound fighters in the planet to ever exist, going to his wife and going like, yeah, nice. It's not...
He said, it's like, yeah, he said you got nice tits.
I agree with him.
Like, yeah, I agree with you. You got nice. No, I'm gonna go kick his ass. I mean, I can go do that, but then what else is gonna follow me whooping his ass, right? If somebody says, "Oh, you a black mother," just I'm like, if I go out and fight him, what am I proving?
Yeah, right.
Because guess what? There's another 20 mother out there who can't wait to call me that.
It will be a never-ending stupid thing, right? Which people like Sean Strickland are all in for. The man has had problems with the law. He has anger issues, so clearly the case. There's different people that react differently to the same situation, right? So that makes for a person that has very poor little control in his reactions, his emotions. That probably is going to be an awful soldier. That person probably cannot be a soldier at all, or even let alone a Navy SEAL, because he cannot control himself. Fucking Demetrius Johnson probably could be a pretty decent operator, keeping cool and not reacting in anger. Sean Strickland, no, right? But as the man here explains, there's levels to these things, and the people that actually teach Navy SEALs how to fight bare hand usually are professional mixed martial artists. Some of the best mixed martial artists are often invited to seminars and classes, or the Navy SEALs themselves go to these gyms so as to try to learn some of it. As he said, a little bit of some basic things, and of course some guys get more into it. There's going to be a fight tonight about a French guy that used to be special forces in France, right? But the guy becomes a mixed martial artist professional, right? And the guy trains way beyond what his job would require of him. And this idea that when there's no rules, we all go crazy, all of that has been done and dusted, and we understand that, yeah, eye gouging, kicking in the nuts, and all of these things, it's okay, but they're not a fight ender. They're not something that you're going to be defeating someone that is clearly superior in that scale, in those different levels. Guys, this is as far as I can go. I cannot do any better than this, actually bringing you the example of someone as well known as Jocko Willink, a former Navy SEAL, black belt in jiu-jitsu, and knowledgeable of what actually fighting involves and how that would be applicable to what he has done as a Navy SEAL and the level that the average Navy SEAL is familiar with in terms of hand-to-hand fighting. Guys, to keep it real, be honest with yourself, understand your limitations, and see you in the next video.